University of Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley.
All right, Mike, thank you. Couple quick announcements, and then we'll talk about the Baylor game here. Both Trey Sermon, Kenneth Mann, both have season-ending injuries. Tough injury, certainly, for those two. They've not only been a big part of this team, but a big part of a lot of teams and a lot of great memories around here. So, obviously, sick, heartbroken for those two because they both put a ton into this program, and will definitely create some opportunities for others and for us to continue to move on as a team, and opportunities to for other people to step up and grow, and that's what has happened in these moments. So certainly hate to announce that, but wanted to give you guys that news. Everybody else on the injury front, the answer is going to be I don't know. We had a couple of other guys get dinged the other night. I think there's potentially some positives there, but we got to see how the week plays out. So obviously going into a very, very important game here on the road against a very good Baylor football team. They're playing well on all three sides of the ball. You look at them, they're a very experienced team. I mean, just across the board, there's a lot of guys that have played a lot of ball over the last several years, and I think that's shown, and they've just constantly just improved, kind of game in and game out, year in and year out. Give Coach Rule and his staff a lot of credit because they've gotten better. And then the thing on top of playing well, just the main thing that sticks out is how well they've played in so many of the close games that they've been in. They've really done a great job finishing games, overcoming some odds at times, and to have really good seasons, you have to do that. So give them a lot of credit. They've played well. They beat some really good people, and will be a great challenge. Should be a fun atmosphere. We're excited to go down to Waco and play.
Start now.
What's happened to your defense the last two games?
What happened to our defense? It's an interesting question. We haven't played as good. I mean, we've done it in spurts. I've had spurts where we haven't tackled as good, and we've continued to put ourselves in a hole where we got to play really well. If you're not getting turnovers, we obviously got a critical one there at the end of the game that was great, but definitely some things we need to do better.
James?
Lincoln, the first 7 games you guys played pretty much 4 quarters. I know you didn't like how you finished a couple of those games, but you were winning going away. Last 2 games, you haven't been able to do that. What do you think's changed in that area, and what's going on in, playing 4 solid quarters like you were early in the season?
Well, I think a couple things. I think, both of those games we've gotten off to really fast starts, and, I don't know that if it's, we relax, or if at some point we think it's not going to be as hard as it's going to be. We haven't been able to maintain that like we want to as a team and build off those fast starts. And then when the adversity hits, like does in every single game, we've got to be ready to respond better. I mean, plain and simple. And the season goes on, and again, you get challenged different ways. You're not just like you were in one game or here, one game there. You got to get up and be ready to do it again every single play, every single week. And that's something that I would just say overall as a team, all 3 sides of the ball, that we have to do a much better job of here in the closing stretch.
Jason Kersey.
Yeah, Lincoln, one thing that's gotten a lot of attention this weekend is your interaction with Raiden over Bay. I'm just wondering if you can talk about how that came together and what that meant to you to have that moment with him.
Yeah, we became aware of it, like I think a lot of people did, through social media, and found out through some people we knew that he and his family were pretty big Oklahoma Sooner fans, and we reached out and invited the family up, through the help of several other people, we're able to make it happen, and it was really cool. We got to spend some time with them before the game, visit with him and his family. Really, really neat people, and then obviously one of the best parts of winning that game was being able to bring him in the locker room and sharing that with our players. And I know there were some videos and stuff went out, but some of the better stuff was just the different interactions he had with our coaches, players, honestly, after that was all done. And so I know it meant a lot to our team. They were all very aware of it. And, for two, and to be able to do that was great for a couple reasons. One, I know it, put a smile on he and his family's faces, and then also, I think, brings awareness to an issue that's important to us and doesn't need to exist.
Is that just an example of the platform that you guys have, a reminder maybe to those guys?
Absolutely, and it was kind of perfect timing, after an up and down game like that did finish on such a high note. And here at the end of the season, sometimes I get it's our job, and we're here to win games, and we're all as competitive as you want to be, but there is more to it, and sometimes we all forget that. And so it was I think perfect for everybody.
Tyler Palmatier.
Lincoln, I don't know how much you study the numbers on CD's yards after catch, but where's he starting to stack up in terms of other receivers you guys have had? What he's doing after the catch?
Yeah, he's making a lot of explosive plays after. I mean, there's no question. So he stacks up well. I mean, he does, and he's consistent with it. And you try to work hard with every runner to continue to develop different ways that they can beat you. I've compared it before. It's like a baseball pitcher. If you got one great pitch, that's great. If you got three great pitches, it's tough. And so we try to develop our guys, an awareness of where to run, where the blockers are going to be set up. Also, physically, trying to get guys to a point where they run aggressively enough to run over you or run through a tackle, and then have the speed and or quickness to beat you that way. And when you present that to defenders, it's tough because they, you guess wrong and you're going to miss. And even if you guess right, it's still pretty tough to tackle him. And CD's one of those guys that presents. He presents a lot of different options to beat you when he runs with the ball, and he's running, very aggressively right now.
He has a lot of natural ability, it looks like, but how well has Dennis done with him?
Like he's done with receivers all over places for the last 10, 15 years. He does a great job developing the guys. He does a great job, demanding the best out of them and ensuring that they continue to grow regardless of how highly they're recruited or regardless of whatever success they've had here. He's got a great way with people and a great way of reaching people and getting the best out of them.
Okay, we'll go to Gary.
Lincoln, as the season moves forward, I think there'll be more of a tendency to compare Jalen to Baker and Kyler just because there's more numbers up now and performance is maybe more germane. Is that a case of this is what you signed up for? You just assume maybe that not happen, and out of fairness to Jalen, but the standard being what it is here, that's what he's going to get. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like a lot of things where, we'll be asked about it in settings like this, and we'll get that's part of it. But I mean, I put zero thought into that, and I know Jalen doesn't really put any thought into it either. I mean, he's, to do great things, you have to have such an ultimate focus on what you're doing, and you got to be able to block out the rest of the things that aren't important. And so I get that that's going to happen, but that's for the fans and that's for media. That's not for coaches and players.
Follow up, if you don't mind, just about his game on Saturday night. He threw a couple of balls early that he got away with that looked like they could have easily been picked and taken the other way. Is he not maybe seeing things as well as you'd like in those situations, or is that just a tribute to how Iowa State prepared?
Well, Iowa State does a really good job. The two plays that you're referring to, one knew the coverage and just simply didn't see the defender as he kind of attached and then spun back around our guy. It was just kind of a unique look, I guess I would say. And then one we just missed on the coverage and thought it was one coverage and it wasn't, and we just got to confirm and see it. So I mean, that's going to happen with quarterbacks from time to time. You still want them to be decisive, and that's always the number one thing for me, and that's what he's done a really good job of this year.
John Hoover.
Yeah, Lincoln, in contemporary sports today, all sports really, you hear coaches stressing the importance of improvement every day, every practice, every game, every week, whatever it is, continuing an up, gradual climb. Are you still seeing that? I know that's important to you, getting better. Are you still seeing that across the board? Are there areas that are dipping and some areas are still improving? Can you kind of expand on that?
Yeah, there's ebbs and flows. There's coaching is kind of like you plug one leak and another one springs. I mean, there's always, you just don't ever get to the point where you plug them all. I mean, that's like a player trying to play perfect. It never happens that way. And so I think you're constantly trying to work on your weaknesses, and whether it's you as a player, you as a coach, the team in general, what are going to be the focus points and what do we do to take steps to accomplish that, to get better at those. And so as this season's went on, we've been challenged different ways. We've done different things well. There's a lot of things right now that we're doing better than we have at any point during the season. We did some things 2 nights ago that you just look back and say, man, you start to see the ceiling of this team and how good we can be. And then the flip side of it is there's obviously points of it that are disappointing because we know we can play so much better. And so I think you leave that game excited about some of the great things that we're doing that were much better than at any other point in the season, and then also determined that if we're going to be the team that we want and have the run that we think we can have here, we know we got to get some of these leaks plugged, and we got to get them plugged now. So
what are a couple of examples, things that you see more improvement in and things that you need to see more improvement?
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I think, geez, I mean, that could go a lot of different directions. I think our understanding of what we're doing, we're so new/young, one or the other on both sides of the ball, and our overall understanding of what we're doing and handling all the different things that are being thrown at us. There's a lot of examples. We're doing some things that I don't think we would have been ready for early in the season at all. And then, then obviously there's some things fundamentally, and then just with kind of the momentum of games that we've got to handle better, just I think collectively as a team, and that's going to be a big focus this week.
Joey Homer?
When a guy's going through a slump of baseball, he kind of expands his strike zone and presses a little bit. How much for the lack of creating turnovers do you feel is maybe trying too hard, pressing, that kind of stuff?
I think we've definitely have some guys doing that. I think that's very fair to say. I mean, it's, like with a team, it's sometimes it's hard to say it's one thing. We got a pretty big team. We got 100-something guys, a lot of different guys that play. So, what is one player's issue is not always this player's issue. So we've got some guys I think that are trying too hard, and it's at times get out of the context of what we're doing schematically. We've got some guys that are still young and kind of trying to figure all this out. We've got guys that are learning what it takes at this level to be great and to win these big-time games, especially at this time of the year. We've got guys that are learning what it takes to focus each and every play, because it's really difficult. I know it sounds easy on the outside, but the level of focus you have to have it's really, really hard to do. And so, we kind of got guys at different points, but it's certainly, we're trying to attack those as much as we can. And then the common themes that we find, together as a team that we have to get better, those are the ones we've got to kind of band together and really, really attack that in every single way possible.
Cliff Brown?
Yeah, Coach, I went to church yesterday and people were saying, oh man, that defense, same old, So what do you see that can tell folks that this is not a regression and that maybe it's just a couple of just tough games?
That'll be defined at the end of the year. That'll be defined. We've, the things that we did and how well we've played, for a large stretch of this year happened. The fact that we haven't played our best in the last 2 weeks happened, and how are we gonna respond? And if it is different and it is better, like we believe it is, then it'll show up here the rest of the season, and that's our challenge.
Yeah, Lincoln this time of year, obviously you only play guys that are ready to play. But you look a couple years ago, this is about time of year to start playing Trey Norwood and Trey Brown. Mm-hmm. Is that same type of development starting to happen for Jeremiah Cradell or Woody Washington? Are they close at all to starting to become a factor?
I think we've got a number of guys that are right on the edge right now, and obviously some of the injuries we've had at different positions. You get here late in the year, guys are going to have some opportunities, and they need to be ready to go make the most of them. But we've worked hard behind the scenes to develop those guys, and a lot of those guys are doing some things that really get you excited. And for them, it's a matter now of getting an opportunity and being ready to jump in and seize it.
Because you see the defense rotation at a lot of spots is going well, but then safety with Delarrin Turner-Yell, Pat Fields, are they physically, mentally starting to wear down just a little bit?
I would say so. I don't think they're wearing down. I mean, I think they're young guys that are learning as they go, and they're getting better, and they've played a lot of important snaps for us, but there's no question we want to continue to add depth and competition there. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, that's we want that at every position. I think with some not as much the other night, but even especially kind of what happened at Kansas State when all of a sudden we lose a couple secondary guys, you could see, some of our depth has got to continue to improve, and that's been a big focus point in these practices is getting more guys ready to play, and they've got to respond. I mean, those guys it's twofold. You got to give them the opportunity as a coach, and then the flip side of it is they've got to practice and prepare well enough that you have the confidence to give them those opportunities. So it takes both sides.
Barry?
Lincoln, Baylor seems to be a team that's played better on the road than at home. They went to Manhattan and won pretty strongly, went to Stillwater and won tight games with Tech and West Virginia at home. Your experience down there has been a dogfight. Even the 1-11 year, they took you to the wire. What is it about playing down there that's tough to play, and why hasn't it really been happening this year?
Yeah, hopefully that trend continues. As far as maybe them not playing as good there, so they've won them all. I know that. I look at the record: 9 wins, no losses, so they're winning. And they've played some really good road games. I don't know that I could sit there and say why that's happened, why that hasn't. The two other times we've been down there, I mean, it's been kind of totally different scenarios. But I would just chalk it up to playing on the road and winning on the road's tough, regardless of how good people think a team is or how bad they think a team is. It's always tough, especially if you don't play your best. I know 2 years ago when we went down there, we certainly didn't play anywhere near our best. And then, 4 years ago, that was 2 pretty good teams going at it.
Gary Bailey?
Lincoln Kennedy had the most carries and runs by a running back all season. Just how big was that gain momentum at the position, and given Trey's situation, how important is that going to be moving forward?
Yeah, no, it was important. He ran well. He did, and like I said, after he was agonizingly close to popping 2 or 3 more of those. So we did some really good things in the run game from an offensive line standpoint, running back standpoint. I mean, we executed better. And that's, when you do that, you're gonna get more opportunities, and we were able to get a few more plays than we've been getting too, which that also made a difference as well. So it's going to be key. It's always key at the end of the year, and we hate losing Trey, but Kennedy's been a workhorse for us before, and then certainly have a lot of confidence in Ramondre and TJ as well.
Okay, Sam Brown?
Coach, this question is on a much more broader spectrum, but looking at your 2017 recruiting class, you have a lot of guys now who are impact players. I mean, 2 of your captains, Marquise before he left was from that recruiting class, Trey and Kennedy, Creed, there's impact players almost everywhere you look. So with that being said, did you kind of get the sense that was the first recruiting class kind of you inherited as a head coach? Did you kind of get a sense that there was something special with that group, or was it just something that kind of manifested itself? And can you talk about the impact that they've had in changing, quote unquote, changing the culture around here?
Yeah, no, it was a group we were really excited about coming in, but it's all of what are these guys gonna do with it? And I think maybe the most consistent theme from that class that I could say is, it was a talented class. We've signed other talented classes. The one thing I would say about that group is those guys, it was a very serious class, meaning those guys came in here to work, and they came in here very serious and mature early on in their careers about what they were doing. And so I think that allowed a lot of those players to get off to great starts in their career, and then they just kind of rode that wave of momentum and continued to get better, and have continued to get better. And so no, it obviously was an important class for us for a lot of different reasons, a lot of great ones in that. Hopefully we can keep bringing in a lot more like that.
Okay, just a few more. George Stoyan.
Coach, you've coached some great wide receivers throughout your career. You look back to Michael Crabtree all the way back at Texas Tech, Marquise Brown, D.D. Westbrook. They're all different, but who does CeeDee Lamb maybe most remind you of, and where is he in just that group of wide receivers that you've coached?
Oh, man. Yeah. Not as much anybody here. It's a good question. He's got some similarities to Crab. He's a little faster than Crab was. Crab was a little bit stronger, but both were dynamic with the ball in the air, when the ball was in the air, and then very dynamic with the ball in their hands after the catch. So we have had a great run of, and what's been fun is it has been so many different skill sets, but if I had to name one, they're probably the most similar.
Coach, your offense has had a lot of success against this Baylor team since you've been here, but this year looks like that defense has taken quite a bit of a jump. Even after losing a really good linebacker a few weeks ago, it still looks really good. So what challenges does that defense present to you this year?
Yeah, a lot. I got a lot of respect for the defensive staff. Guys have done a great job. They've changed it up a little bit this year. They've definitely changed quite a bit schematically, and it's done well for them. And then when you look across, you just roll your eyes down the depth chart. It's senior, 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 junior, senior, senior. I mean, and it's all guys that have played a lot of meaningful snaps for them, and they've gotten better and better. They've moved a few guys position-wise, and those have really landed well, and has made a big difference for them. And they've caused turnovers. They've done the things you got to do to play really good defense. So they'll be certainly as big a challenge as we faced all year.
Okay, two more. John Hoover.
So I've heard a couple of players, whether it's been on social media or post-game radio shows and stuff, talk about how the energy left the stadium when the crowd kind of diminished at the start of the fourth quarter. You guys get a big lead and everybody's like, well, we got this one, we're going to head on out of here. When that happens and the energy maybe leaves the stadium, does that impact the team? Do you guys feel it? Do you notice it? Maybe you look back on it and say, yeah, we definitely felt when it happened.
I mean, it's our job as coaches and players that we got to play to our level no matter what. I mean, that is certainly our job, and I would never put that on our fans or anybody else's fans or any atmosphere or any stadium. Now, the flip side of that, like I've said up here many times, we have one of the great stadiums in America. We have one of the great fan bases in America, and when it's rocking in there, does our team feel that? Hell yeah, they do. And when it's not, do they feel that? Hell yeah, they do. Yep.
Okay, last question, Al.
What about, is Caleb Kelly getting closer to help you? And anything new on Calcaterra?
Caleb's doing well. He's healthy. He's ready to go. It's been an interesting discussion. Yeah, I can just talk about him right here. How you doing, bud? He's done. He's done well. I'm not just saying that because he's sitting in the back of the room. He has done really well. He's knocking the rust off, and I think will be ready to help us here pretty quick. Calcaterra still not planning on having him available this week. We're still a little bit in wait and see mode there right now. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you.